We had a conversation, but it was like the most nothing conversation you could have. We were standing there, like just awkwardly 10 feet away from Taylor and Travis, just staring at them. Like, this is just so cool seeing them. We're looking at Taylor Swift.
When we first met her, she's like, "Hi, I'm Taylor." Goes like, shake her hand. Well, that's when we noticed that we have matching nails. Literally both had gold sparkle nails, and we both go, "Oh my god, matching nails!" Like,
Taylor Swift spins her head round. Just the biggest smile. Like, her and my manager were obviously having a very like high energy conversation, and she's like, "Oh my god, hi." I'm like, "Hi."
People who get to meet Taylor are just some of the luckiest in the world. Check out some of these awesome stories of people sharing their experience of meeting Taylor in this video.
Leading up to that,
Oh, yeah.
we had Titan U, Taylor Swift.
It was Trav like, "Oh, this is one of the busing guys. Oh, good to meet you. Travis loves the show," and then kept going.
We had a conversation, but it was like the most nothing conversation you could have. We were standing there, like just awkwardly 10 feet away from Taylor and Travis, just staring at them. Like, this is just so cool seeing them. We're looking at Taylor Swift like 10 feet. It just was so weird.
Seeing her come out and everybody like go crazy, and then actually hearing her voice. Wow, this is like a cool thing, not because of like I'm a fan of her, but like this is just cool that she's willing to do this when she has no reason to.
Red could have been the soundtrack of my life when it came out.
Like, she's like so big and has been so big, like it almost feels like living through history when you're like around her. She's so big that like when you're around her, it's not like when you're around like someone else.
Like an aura about her that like you know Taylor Swift, you know her concerts and how expensive those tickets are, and like how much the Swifties like will ride or die for her, and like just how big she is. It's like you see her, it's like you almost feel like, oh my god, she's a real person.
Yeah, you're a human.
every time because I know everyone's going to ask me. Yes, Emily and I literally talked to Taylor for, I don't know, like 5 or so minutes. And when we first met her, she's like, "Hi, I'm Taylor." Goes like, shake her hand. Well, that's when we noticed that we have matching nails. Literally both had gold sparkle nails, and we both go, "Oh my god, matching nails!" Like, we literally did that with our fingers and touched each other. It was insane. I really wish we got a photo, but honestly, like, the memories from last night is like well beyond a photo, and I just like can't believe that happened. It was the coolest thing ever.
Okay, let's talk about meeting Taylor Swift. I need to start by saying I'm not a fan. That doesn't mean I'm not a fan. We actually went to go see Taylor Swift with Rare Beauty in LA last year, and I was surprised at how many of her songs I knew, and the atmosphere was just incredible. I was speechless from the moment she walked out. Such an incredible performer. All I've listened to for the last decade is K-pop, so similar to meeting Beyonce, I was actually doing a late shift working in personal shopping. And you're only really told at the last minute and a select few people when a celebrity's coming in, and if you've been chosen, I guess, to kind of be one of the people that helps with the shopping process. We were told that she'd be coming in with like an entourage of people, and we were very much split into top man, top shop this time, unlike meeting Beyonce, so we didn't actually get to see her arrive. But her entourage ended up being a load of her dancers, and they were lovely. They were so nice. It was a load of guys, obviously we were in top man, and they were like, "Are we okay, just kind of browse the shop and get what we want?" And I was like, "Yeah, just let us know if you need any sizes, if you want some out of stock items, whatever, let us know, we'll do what we can for you." So it was a really relaxing first couple of hours, like nothing really happened. Taylor Swift, from what I knew at the time, wasn't really shopping, and I thought I wasn't actually going to get to see her or meet her, but one of the dancers asked for a pair of shoes. And what I didn't tell you last time in the Beyonce story is that the shoe department in Top Man was actually owned by another brand. I can't remember who it was. Shoe? No. I don't know. What that meant is that they had their own management team and their own stock room, which we have to get special permission to get the keys for. So one of the higher managers on the shifts, whenever a celebrity comes in, often walks around and guides the celebrity around. So I had to track down the manager on the shift at the time. Her name was Tanya. Can I say that? Yeah, that's fine. And she was walking around with Taylor Swift. Now, I don't know if you ever went to the Top Man Top Shop in Oxford Circus, but when you walk in, to the side, there is just stacks of escalators, and I could hear them on one of these escalators, so I had to go up and down trying to find Tanya because I needed to get this key. And then I saw them. My manager and Taylor Swift were going up this escalator. I was down the bottom of it, and I was like, how do I approach without being creepy and without being like, you know, And as I mentioned, we dealt with celebrities loads before. I wasn't nervous, I just didn't want to startle anyone, and you never know how a celebrity wants people to approach. The stories you hear about celebrities being like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, are true. Like, there are some celebrities like that. So I kind of approach loud enough for them to hear footsteps. I wait for a break in the conversation and I say, I'm so sorry to interrupt. And then Taylor Swift spins her head round. Just the biggest smile, like her and my manager were obviously having a very like high energy conversation. And she's like, oh my God, hi. I'm like, hi. I was like, so sorry to interrupt. She was like, not a problem. I was like, Tanya, do we have the keys for the stockroom? Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm trying to look for a pair of shoes. And she was like, oh yeah, I'll get one of the assistants to run it down for you. So there'll be personal shoppers and then an assistant would work with the personal shoppers. And then Taylor Swift was like, how's it all going? Is everyone okay up there? I was like, yeah, they're all absolutely fine. She was like, good, let me know if there's any issues. I was like, no, you let me know if there's any issues. I didn't say that to her, but she was like very, she just wanted to make sure everything and everyone was okay. And very genuinely as well. So then I go back to the top man personal shopping suite. So I managed to get the dancer a pair of shoes. And then I get a call from my manager saying that Ed Sheeran is on his way up. I was a little bit confused, but my assistant at the time was like, they're kind of friends. I was like, okay, I don't know if they're still friends or whatever. So then Ed Sheeran came into the lounge and I kind of explained to him, you know, you can shop for anything, you get all of it for free, you can have anything you want. But he was kind of just there to relax. Like, he wasn't unfriendly, but he wasn't over familiar, you know, like general basic good manners. And I remember like after, he was probably there for like half an hour. I was like, are you sure you don't want anything? I was like, because you can have anything you want. And I remember being like, you can get like just a pack of underwear. What did I say? I remember saying something like, we do, you know, basic t-shirts. You can replenish your underwear and socks. And he was like, you know what, actually, I'll have a pack of underwear. So I went to go and get like a 3-pack of underwear, you know, the basic ones that had like the top man around the top of them. And that was it. And then he kind of left. We actually didn't end up giving the dancers anything for free, even though they would have had it, because Taylor Swift actually insisted on paying for the product, for the clothing, kind of as like a gift to her dancers. She was very, very generous. That was the only time I saw her, but from what I heard from the women that worked in Topshop, she was lovely. She was so nice, and I kind of get that energy from her. As I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan. That doesn't mean I dislike her in any way. I've always had nothing but nice things to say about her, good feelings about her since I met her for that very brief 5 minutes. But she was so lovely. I get the hype. It was a pleasure to see her perform. And you know when you can tell people just being polite because that's the way they were brought up? You can tell it was within her to be a good person. I don't know if that makes sense, but there was something about the way she was interacting with people that you were very instantly comfortable around her and felt very relaxed, which is very strange to say when you're dealing with A-listers because there's always that tension of like, you know, try and be on your best behavior. But I remember just thinking like, she's lovely. She's nice.
That's when I became a hardcore Swiftie. When I saw everyone turn against her, I was like, I'm going to ride with Taylor. And so every single day I make my coffee and I play Look What You Made Me Do. And then that was when we were invited to go to the Reputation concert and we're sitting there first row and somebody comes up and is like, Taylor would like to see you backstage. I'm like, excuse me. So we go backstage before the show at the Rose Bowl. Taylor's like in like her like dressing gown and just was as sweet as any human's ever been. Like for real, like no attitude.
She knew that you're one of the few people that like rode hard.
And her mom said that to me. She's like, we watched when everyone was, all her people, and you were there hyping Taylor. Like, we saw that. I was like, oh, okay. And I never thought I'd be backstage in Taylor Swift when she's like, you know, I didn't think doing my coffee, it was not like an agenda. I never thought I'd end up with Taylor and her mom.
Taylor Swift invited me to her house to hear Reputation before it was released. By this time, I had met Taylor backstage at a show, and she had followed me for a couple of years and had liked a bunch of my posts along the way, but she actually stalked me like a week before this happened. And I got a DM and a phone call in the same day, and we went over so much accessibility information in that phone call because I'm disabled. They had thought of literally everything. They had counted the number of steps. They had alternative routes planned. They were gonna like reserve a seat for me. Taylor and her team are incredible. Anyway, the day comes. We like mingled outside for a while. I talked to her dad for a while outside. They had a bunch of food. Then they invited us inside. Somehow I ended up being one of like the first people in. So I sat literally directly in front of this woman's chair. Like she almost kicked me in the face because we were that close. Sorry, girl. Taylor came in and then she introduced her family and Abigail. We all like cheered for her. And then she came and sat down. We watched a music video for Ready For It. It was like 80% done, I think. My friends and I were just sort of like talking, like making jokes and stuff. And after Taylor made a comment about like one of the jokes that I made, I kept forgetting that we were in her house and she was also there and she was standing right there and could hear us. Like that just like did not compute in my head. Anyway, she would tell us the whole story behind a song, like when she wrote it, why she wrote it, who she wrote it with, production, and she would play the song. Then a couple of the singles had already been released at that point. So during Look What You Made Me Do, we had a dance party. During Gorgeous, they actually passed around all of the new merch line that like had not yet been announced. Not only did we get to see all of the new items, but we got to like feel them. And you guys, I tried so hard to get them to let me take that gray oversized crew neck with like the zips in the elbows. Oh my god, I wanted it so bad, and obviously they would not let me take that. Also during Gorgeous, because we already knew the song, I was like obviously singing the words at her, and during the chorus we were kind of like singing at each other, and she literally said, "I can't say anything to your face because look at your face," and like reached forward and cupped my chin and then was like, "You're gorgeous." Life-changing moment. And then she gave us other information about the songs too. So like she told us Call It What You Want was the next single and when it would be released. So when we finished listening to the album, she showed us the magazines and told us like how those came to be. After that, she went into the room that we were meeting her in and we all stayed in that room. We got to mingle with like her family, Abigail and Tree. I think Tree was the one that came and passed around cookies, so we got to talk to her for a little bit. Also talked to Scott, and one of my favorite moments of the whole night was him and I were in the middle of a conversation and he was like, "Do you have to go to the bathroom?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, no, even if you don't have to go, you gotta go see her bathroom's so cool. And he wasn't wrong, it was very cool, but it's the most dad energy and it is so funny. I guess all of the minors had to leave first, so Taylor's team did call names of anyone who was a minor, and then they all met her first, but the rest of us kind of got to choose when we wanted to go over there. So me and this group of people decided that we would be last. So we kind of hung out and like mingled in the room that we listened to the album in, and we all like sat in her chair. I spent a good amount of time laying on Katie's dog bed, which honestly was more comfortable than my bed. Eventually it was the end. There was just this like group of people left, so we sort of like lined ourselves up so that we could pick like who we wanted to watch meet Taylor. I believe I was third to last. When I walked in the room, she looked over at me and screamed my name. Keep in mind, I'm meeting her after midnight. It has been hours and she's just met like 60 people. This woman goes, first thing she says to me, other than my name and like hi, was, "I told them to put you in the front of the line because I know about all of this going on. Did they do that?" First of all, I have chronic pain and I had sent her one singular message about that like 6 months before this. What do you mean you know? What do you know? What do you mean you know? And then I was like, no, they definitely did not put me in the front of the line, considering I'm third to last. Then she apologized and was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to have to stand around this whole time. Like, how are you feeling?" And I sort of just blurted out, like, "Oh, I don't want to leave here ever. I love it here." I kind of like forgot how to be a person during that conversation, but that's okay. Anyway, we talked about a bunch of different things. I hand embroidered these matching jackets for us and I was wearing mine, so she had me turn around and she like ran her hand along the back and was like talking a lot about the jacket. We did talk about a lot of personal things. At one point I started crying and she had her playlist going and the music kind of stopped, so it got very quiet like very quickly. She grabbed my hands and was like, "Shh, just wait until the music starts back up and it's just us again." Gone. And then the song that came on next was Malibu by Miley Cyrus. If you know the words to that song, I literally lost my mind. Anyway, I was like not expecting her to know anything about me. I realized that she like picked me to be there, but it still just didn't compute in my head that like she would retain any information about me. That was honestly like the most shocking part of our conversation. Like she really did know so much. She told me at one point that she's always wanted to tell me how much she loves my dimples. She kind of went on and on about how obsessed she is with dimples. I kind of just like blacked out in that moment. I don't even think I retained everything that she said. She was complimenting me, but I was just looking at her like, no way you're calling me pretty right now. That's not happening. Another funny part of our conversation was I had a cane at the time that had this like black snake print. After she posted those snake videos, literally everybody thought that my cane was inspired by Reputation. She picked up my cane and all of my stuff to like hand it to me, and we were talking about it and she was like, "Oh, I definitely thought you had this pattern for me too." I think I literally said, "No, queen, I'll take my 10% for the idea though." Like what was I saying? What was I during this conversation? After we got back to the meeting location, a bunch of us were like having breakdowns, and Taylor's team walked by and they were like taking videos and pictures. I can't remember exactly what they said, but they like told us they were going to send it to her. Final thing I will say about this is 9 months after this, she invited one of my best friends backstage to meet her, and Taylor asked her who she was with. She started to say my name, so she literally just said Isabel, and Taylor was like, "Oh, Isabel from the Nashville session? Yeah, I know her." That alone is more shocking than everything I just said. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions that I didn't answer. That was truly the most unreal day of my whole life, I think, and always will be.
I absolutely love hearing stories from people who get to meet Taylor in such interesting situations, because it's always unexpected and a complete delight. And Taylor is just one of the most sweetest and genuine people in the world to interact with. And so this was awesome to put together in light of all of those stories. For more great stories about people getting to meet Taylor, check out this next video.